Good morning students, welcome to the next section of the flower, the pollination. Pollination plays a very important role in sexual reproduction of flower. During this process, the male gametes, that is your pollen grain, is transferred onto stigma where it germinates and carries the male nucleus to the female nucleus and where fertilization takes place, and that results in the formation of fruits and seeds which on germination give rise to new plant. So beginning with the definition of pollination, what is pollination? Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. In this figure you can see these are the flowers with anthers and stigma. Now during pollination what happens? The pollen grains produced in these anthers are transferred to the stigma. Now this process may take place between two flowers on the same plant or two flowers on two different plants of the same type. It may also involve a single flower. So based on the type of transfer, there are two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. So let's begin with self-pollination. What is self-pollination? Self-pollination is a transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of same flower or of another flower of the same plant. Like in this picture you can see here the transfer of pollen grain is taking place in the same flower, whereas in this picture the transfer of pollen grain is taking place between two flowers but on the same plant. Now coming to the advantages, what are the advantages? There are several advantages of self-pollination. The first being the chances of pollination is much greater. The second advantage of self-pollination is very small quantity of pollen grains are produced. No need to produce big amount of pollen grain. Hence, it is very economical for the plant. Economical in the sense it requires less energy in the production of pollen grain. Flowers need not be large and showy. Another advantage is there is no need to produce nectar and scent. And above all, the most important advantage is all the parental characters are reserved indefinitely. Means we will get the pure lines. If I have a plant which gives me high yield and are disease resistant, I can carry out self-pollination and get those characteristics in the coming offsprings. Thus parental characters are reserved indefinitely. But as every coin has the other side also, self-pollination has many disadvantages as well. The first being no new varieties can be obtained. Whatever varieties or whatever offsprings we get, they are pure lines. Another disadvantage is the genetic defects of the breed cannot be removed. Since there are no intermixing of the characters of the chromosomes, as a result, what happens? The genetic defects pass on to the next generation without any alteration. And so there is little chance for the improvement, little or no chance for the improvement of the characters in the offspring. So these genetic defects cannot be removed with the help of self-pollination. Not only this, repeated self-pollination produce poor quality seeds. And since the seeds are of poor quality, the offspring produced will be very weak. This also results in the weakening of the breed generation after generation. The next type of pollination is cross-pollination. It is also known as allogamy. Now in this cross-pollination, what happens? The pollen grain from the anther of one flower is transferred to the stigma of a flower of another plant, but the plant should be of the same species. So transfer of pollen grains from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of another plant of the same species. And to carry out this cross pollination, we need pollinators. Who are pollinators? They are the agents. Now coming to the advantages of pollination. There are various advantages. So what are those? Let's see. The first advantage is it produces healthier offsprings. Seeds produced by them have much greater germinating capacity. We get high yield, abundant and more viable seeds. Not only this, different variations are introduced by cross-pollination. Naturally also variations are possible, and artificially also we can introduce variation by cross-pollination. Just like self-pollination, cross-pollinations also have various disadvantages. The first being they have to depend on external agencies for pollination, which may or may not be available at the proper time. Suppose it is a time for pollination, it is a season, but no external agents are present, it's very difficult for cross-pollination to take place. Then not only this, the pollen grains have to be produced in large quantities in order to ensure pollination. Thus, a lot of pollen is wasted. And due to this wastage of pollen grains, it is less economical. Less economical means the flowers have to be large, colored, showy, scented and nectar producing. So these are some of the disadvantages of cross-pollination. Now coming to agents of cross-pollination. There are various agents of cross-pollination. So let us study one by one. Beginning with insect pollinated flower. Pollination by insects, also known as entomophily. Now what are the characteristics of these flowers? The flowers have to be large, showy and brightly colored. They have to produce sufficient amount of scent and nectar in order to attract insects for pollination. Since it is insect pollination, the anthers are with short filaments. Anthers and stigma usually stay within the flower. The pollen grains that are produced are in small quantity, they are rough and sticky. Whereas stigma is also very sticky, so that it can receive the pollen grain present on the body of insects. It may be flat or knob-like. Knob-like means it will appear somewhat in this manner. This is your knob of the door. You might have seen when you open the door, there is a round knob. So this is the notch or knob-like stigma. Apart from these qualities, nectar guides are usually present in insect pollinated flower. Now what is nectar guide? Nectar guides are those instructions or those indications or those markings on the petals of the flower. Like in this flower you can see this bright red color. These are your nectar guides showing them the way where nectaries are present. Since it's an insect pollinated flower, so all the essential words, that is your androecium and gynoecium, remain within the flower, are not much exposed to wind. Examples are salvia, petunia, pea, buttercup, etc. Coming to another type of abiotic agent, that is your anemophily, means wind pollinated flowers that are pollinated by wind. Now since these flowers have to be pollinated by wind, the flowers need not be very large, showy and colored. So the flowers are very small, usually white in color and dull in appearance. Neither they produce scent nor they produce nectar. But since it has to be pollinated by wind, anthers have long filaments. So here in this picture you can see all this white cloudy appearance that you see is the pollen grain. These are your pollen grains dispersed by these flowers. Here also this is your bottle brush. Red pointed structures that you see are the filaments, and at the tip of the filaments are the anthers present. Stigma is very large and feathery. Nectar guys are usually absent, and the essential whorls, both the anthers and stigma, both are exposed to air. Example, maize, pine, wheat, etc. Next type is your hydrophily. This is the last type of the agent where pollination takes place by water. Now in hydrophily, you will see the flowers are very small and light for floating. As you can see in this picture, the flowers are floating. Male and female flowers are born on separate plants. Now this is your female flower and these are your male flowers. Now what happens? When the male flowers mature, they detach from the plant and float on water. While the female flowers, these are the female flowers, you can see they just touch the surface of water. Again, pollen grains are produced in large numbers because they have to float on water, so they produce large amount of pollen grains. Example is your Vallisneria hydrilla. With this we come to an end of pollination topic. Thank you.